Welcome, everybody, to our Friday Sid City Social Club meeting. I'm Mel. I run sidcity.net. You guys recognize Sid.
Oh.
And before we get going here, just a couple of notes. A reminder that we do record this and put this, we edit things together. And Juditha, you need to be on mute, please.
Sorry.
Yep. I know what you're freaking out about.
Yes. Got some people noticing.
Just please put yourself on mute if we haven't called on you to chat, and that way we don't have all that background noise and the video doesn't switch over to people at random. I do have a list of people that signed up to chat today, so I'll be calling on them. And we do have a couple of surprises for you. If you're on speaker view, you already know what one of them is. So we are joined by a special guest. I'm going to let Sid introduce them in a minute. And in the last 30 minutes today, we're going to do a Q&A with a fan artist slash fan fiction writer. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Sid.
Thank you, Mel. So yeah, some of you are either asleep or you've noticed that Nana, the visitor, has joined us today as our drop-in guest, as our fun, exciting person. I couldn't be happier that she decided to come and join us, partly because it gets pretty boring with just me alone, and mainly because she's fabulous. And I'd like her to say hi if she's got a microphone on.
I am so glad to see you all. What a fun thing to do. Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
So what we're going to do is Nana and I are both going to chat to you. And if you've got a question for Nana, because you haven't had a chance to prepare, feel free. It will be ad lib. And, but you'll find that we chat together. And she'll jump in or I'll jump in. And we'll find out what your lives are like this Friday. So who's our first victim?
Our first victim is Steve Peters. I'm going to go ahead and unmute Steve. He is creating a DS9 comic graphic novel. So Steve, I've got you unmuted.
Hi.
There he is.
Hi, Sid. Hi, Nana.
Hey.
Actually, it's not specifically about DS9, but we do, basically it's a sci-fi humor comic. And we do a spin-off series in which the characters do a podcast, and one of the podcasts focused on DS9.
Oh, brilliant. So, who's we?
My friend Bianca and she writes it and I draw it. And I think she's actually on, but I don't think she wants to talk. She's too shy.
She doesn't have to. It's fine. She can chill out wherever she is. And how many comics have you written? I'm looking at the graphics behind you. They look fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, this is a banner that we use at conventions.
But someone else drew that, yeah?
No, I drew it.
I'm joking. Where are you in the world?
And these are some of my comics back here, our comics back here. I don't know if you can.
Where are you at?
What's that?
Where are you?
I am near Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. How's that going?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, actually. Okay is pretty good. And tell me what got you into comic illustration. I don't know if I've got the right terminology.
My brother, mostly, and my sister. There were always comics around in the house, and so I just absorbed it through them, and then it became a lifelong passion.
Wow. Did you hear about the guy we talked to last? Did you hear the guy we talked to? I think it was on Tuesday, who collects comics and has started selling them. That's fantastic. Well, I think you are incredibly talented. I'm just looking at the background. I'm looking at all your stuff. What are some of the ones on the wall?
Those are different issues of the series, the comic verse. And so there's issue 1, 2, and 3. And
how long have you been doing it?
10 years. This particular series, 10 years.
Well, clearly I'm not a comic collector because I would have heard of you, read all your stuff brilliantly, but I just have never... They've never been in my world, except for bizarre British annuals, we used to call them in England back when I was a child. But I know the world loves them. I'm pretty certain our son, Django, loves them.
Cool.
I don't know. Does he read comics? Does Django read comics?
I know that he did. I'm not sure what he reads these days. I know he's playing a lot of, it's like the one time in my life I'm like, Django, play those games, get on the computer, play games. It's the time to do it. Focus on something, you know, just to stay safe. But Steve, I'm wondering, how has this all affected you? You know, from someone who doesn't know anything, I go, well, he can do his art, he can do this and deal them on the internet, but there being no conventions, does that impact you?
Yeah, sure. There's no conventions whatsoever. My main job is I work at a supermarket, and
Thank you for what you do.
Well, I'm currently on leave from the supermarket because I'm taking care of my mother who has cancer, so she's at high risk from the virus. So I got leave to keep her safe.
Understood.
But that gives me a lot of time to work on comics, so it's good in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We all know the whole thing that, you know, that King Lear was written during a plague. So, you know, some good stuff can come out of being in lockdown and having to do your work.
Yeah. I've tried to be as productive as possible.
So you do all the shopping and the cooking, or just do you split those roles?
No, I just do the shopping. She takes care of her own cooking.
And how's she doing?
Pretty good. Aside from feeling weak sometimes, she's always in pretty good spirits. Just hangs in there. Right.
Gosh, I'm sorry. For her, and I'm sorry for you that you can't work and earn a living at this particular moment. But my goodness, she needs you now more than ever, I imagine.
Yeah.
Has she ever been in to watch you come and hang out at the social club?
No.
Did you find it really bizarre?
Probably. I'm sure she's watched plenty of Deep Space Nine in the past, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she would know who you guys are. I actually sent Mel some pictures to share with you from the comic, from the DS9 one that we did.
Oh, that's fantastic. Have you got those?
I do. Steve, did you have one that you wanted to start with?
You can start with the first one and then just keep going.
Okay. That seems logical. Let's see if the screen would like to cooperate today. Okay. All right.
Oh, wow.
It's not the first one, but this is the review that we did of the Deep Space Nine episode, which was Crossover, which you may recall is the first one that you guys did, the mirror universe.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's etching. I mean, that's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You nailed Odo.
Thank you. And that's, of course, you too.
Oh, yes.
I had a lot of trouble getting your likeness, Sid. Bianca, I gave Bianca a lot of Deep Space Nine comics, that were, published by other publishers. And she said a lot of the artists have a hard time getting your likeness. And I don't know why that is, but I was one of them. Really could not nail you that well.
Who's that? Who are you talking about? Because you've got both of us on there, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I had an easier time for whatever reason. I think that's a better likeness.
I'm not sure how to take that. Someone a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, said how hard I was to draw, but she was going on about my legs being incredibly difficult.
And you said you had a weird torso.
I have the shortest torso on earth. Ask Nana. We sit down next to each other at a dining table. I am shorter than her. We stand up. I'm about 6 inches taller than her.
That's just called long legs, which is an excellent thing in any world, in any species. Long legs are a good thing.
So these are just some images I selected that had you in it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I did not know Nana would be here. I would have picked some more.
Well, she's in these too. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
They're really good.
So this particular one was inspired by a podcast called Mission Log. I don't know if you're familiar.
Not yet. I'm getting familiar with a lot of podcasts right now.
But they do Star Trek. They started with the original series, and they've just gone. Actually, they're doing DS9 now, and they started with the original, then TNG, and now they're on DS9, and they just do a podcast about each episode every week.
Yeah. Wow.
So we kind of did it as an homage to them, and we did it in their style.
It's fantastic. I wish I knew more. I'm now learning, but I wish I knew more. So how did you start this? How does this come into being? What is the genesis of becoming a comic book artist and publishing?
Oh my gosh, it's a complicated question. Well, I went to art school and studied illustration because I figured that was the closest thing to comics I could find.
So you knew you wanted to be a comic book illustrator?
Yes. And after graduation, a few years later, I started doing what's called a mini comic. That's like the minor leagues, which is basically Xerox comics. You make a Xerox and you fold it in half and you make a little book. Yeah. And so that's how I started. And then a few years later,
I got to raise money and stuff like that, or do you do that once you get a publishing deal? I mean, to actually do you draw a prototype? I mean, because comics obviously are really specialized things, and you can't just do one in felt.
Sure. Yeah, actually, the way I start, I haven't put anything out through, like, it's called the direct market, which is you get comics in comic shops everywhere through distribution. Yeah. I haven't done that in a few years because it's hard. It's a tough business. But I started out, I got a grant from something called the Xeric Foundation. And it was started by one of the guys who created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I got a grant from them, and that started me out, and I started, publishing nationally.
Right.
Part of it is the prestige of getting that grant. It was pretty big back in the day.
Because I'm assuming that some people in this room with us now may be wanting to do exactly what you're doing. I'm just trying to... Well,
unfortunately,
a little pathway.
Unfortunately, though, the grants still exist. They don't specialize in comics anymore.
Okay.
But that got me my start, and I'm trying to think what else. We started Comic Verse 10 years ago as we wanted to do a weekly strip about comics that could be that could appear in the newsletters of different comic shops, and we didn't actually follow up on that idea. We just we liked the idea so much, and it seemed to get a good response that we just kept going and just made a comic book out of it rather than a strip. And
that's great. Well, I hope your writer's your writer is on with us. I mean, I'd love to see some of her. I mean, I saw little tidbits of it there. Who comes up with the story, you or her?
It depends. Sometimes I'll come up with the idea and then we'll develop it together. Sometimes it's her idea. But like I said, we'll develop it and then she'll write it.
Fantastic. That's really, really groovy.
How long does it take you, Steve, to write, to do a book? How many hours?
Oh, goodness. Forever.
Really?
Well, it depends. Our last, most recent issues are longer. This is our most recent one. That has a DS9 story in it, and it's 72 pages. So the more pages you do, and the more stuff you pack into it, the longer it'll take, obviously.
Sure.
And there's Nana again, as
yes,
Mirror Kira.
Fantastic. I love that character.
Yeah.
Gosh. It was like 40s siren.
Yeah.
Really great character. So have you been in touch with the other, because the other illustrator who was on a couple of meetings?
No, not yet. I wrote down his name because I'd love to pick his brain.
Well, what do you do as a pastime, as a hobby? What do you do that isn't drawing, which I see as a parallel career for you? Do you play games? Do you read a lot? Do you cook?
No, I make music. I recorded a few CDs of original music.
Oh my goodness. Are they on YouTube?
I do have music on YouTube.
Can you type in something so that people can find it?
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
we're all crazy about that stuff. People will go and find it. I promise you.
I suppose search for Steve Peters or Steve Peters Awakening Comics. That might be enough to find it.
Someone's just written the Sid City Municipal Jazz Band is getting formed. We have so many great musicians in the room.
Oh, how great! How great!
A couple of the CDs I recorded were actually soundtracks for my comics, so I use that to tie it in.
Wow,
great idea! I don't think I've ever heard of anyone doing that, having a soundtrack for their comic.
Yeah, other people have. I think
really
my way is a little unique because I break the comics into chapters. So the title of each chapter will be the title of the song, and the song will correspond to whatever's happening in the chapter.
Wow.
And I'm currently working on a new project that has both a soundtrack and a comic book. That is taking.
And do you ever get narration? You've got soundtracks?
Narration?
Yeah, feed off to different characters, to different actors, the sound.
No, that would be interesting to try, maybe for the next one.
You know, I mean, you could start doing something really out there. Have people, actors speak the words.
Sounds good.
I don't know if it's possible. I'm sure someone's thought of it before. Maybe it's just prohibitively expensive. But right now, actors aren't doing very much.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, fire away.
We're currently doing like I said, our comic is this one is called Subspace Chatter. It's part of the comic verse, and it's a podcast. The characters are doing a podcast in the comic, and we're about to start one where they're doing a podcast about viruses in episodes of Star Trek, to be topical, And I was wondering, do you have any episodes where Dr. Bashir dealt with a virus that were memorable, or do you have any memorable recollections of any of those episodes?
Absolutely. We did a show called The Quickening. I think it was the third season, maybe the second season, and seasons blur. And it was really, really rather beautiful show, and it was a coming of age story for Bashir, because he felt he knew it all, and he felt that he was the coolest thing since sliced bread, and he made some serious errors and caused a lot of damage, and that was one of my favorite elements. Season 4, someone's just written down. Thank you. This is one of the things that I find really redemptive about Bashir, is that he wasn't perfect, and he did things so catastrophically wrong, and he did them wrong, and he tried to figure out how to fix it. But that's a pretty good episode if you want to recommend that to someone.
Wasn't fascination a virus too? Or was that something else? Do you remember that show, Fascination? Yeah, it was, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Someone will confirm that.
Of course.
Isn't that the one with Loxana Troy when she's coming on to Odo big time? It's
everybody falling in love. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Kind of contagion.
Well, listen, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to have met you, sir. And I wish you massive success with your...
Thank you so much. It's a wonderful little community that you have going here.
It is. Well, as I say sometimes to people, what we're doing now is the sideshow. What's happening down in the chat is the most important thing. Everybody's having such a fun time down there. And sometimes they may look up and go, oh yeah, they're still talking. And they're back to chatting amongst themselves because it's a social club. So just good luck with everything, yeah. And
thank you.
Sincere, heartfelt good wishes for you and your mother.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, David.
Okay, we are going to go to a different Stevie. This is Stephanie, who goes by Stevie in the various Sid City social media platforms. Are you still there, Stevie?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Took me long enough to get here, but I'm here.
Well done. How long have you been on the list?
Probably since it started, but I work every Friday at this time. So I'm kind of homesick today.
I hope you get well soon.
I'm getting there. Thank you
You
so
look
much.
a little beady. Yeah,
Huh?
I see that.
Cats.
Yeah.
Cats.
We'll get you up and running in no time.
Yeah, they will. I'm surprised they haven't started meowing at the door, being, let in, trying to make a cameo. Or a cameo, as it were.
We'll see a tail just go past the screen.
You probably will. Or just like someone come up like, hello.
Why are you working right now?
I work at a library. I am a librarian. We have been open since, we've been doing curbside service since March.
Yeah.
Which means we've been closed to the public, but they can still put books on hold. They can still come up and talk to us.
How is your library evolving? Because everything's happening. I mean, libraries are undergoing massive change. Some being threatened with extinction because of the lack of books. Is that the right question to ask?
You have asked the perfect question, and I knew you were going to ask it, because libraries are evolving, and this is something I'm super passionate about talking about.
Please tell us.
Yeah, because my branch in particular was the first one in our system to have what's called the Idea Lab, which is a makerspace. And that's in part why I got hired, because my background is in television production and digital media, graphic design. So that's how I got my foot in the door. And now all the libraries have them. Obviously, they're not accessible to the public right now, but we got 3D printers, we have sewing machines. I've spent this time sewing masks. One of the masks I made, I left it at work, was based on Dr. Bashir's uniform. It was gray with a little bit with green and the black across. And I posted it on Twitter a couple times, and people have just eaten it up. And I'm like,
wow. Wow. I'm saying wow, not so much to the mask of Bashir, which I still think is probably exceptional, but to the fact that you have done such an innovative thing to turn this into libraries into ideas factory.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we still have books. People still come in. That's one of the things we're worried about now is, people can't browse the stacks, and we're supposed to police them and say you can't do that, but they don't listen to us on the best days. But yeah,
are you in Miami?
No, I'm about 2 hours north on the East Coast. So
okay.
Just the county just north of the very affected area.
Right.
So we're very close.
Did you hear Tammy last week, who was a TV producer at the Fox News affiliate in Florida? You might have been working.
I think last week I tried to get in, but I couldn't, just because the timing between shift change and getting to where I could be in here was really tough. And there's
someone called Tammy, who's also part of the club, who you might do some really good brainstorming together, because she's a 6-time Emmy-winning producer for Fox for the network in Florida.
That's
and
really
she may
cool.
need you in some way, and you may need her in some way. It might be a really good beginning of something.
Yeah,
but
I was.
Astonishing. So, what is the most? What would you say was the most innovative thing that you've worked on recently? What do you think what's really caught fire with people?
Well, definitely the sewing, but I'm not sure if you remember me, but in Las Vegas this year, you took a picture with me with this.
I recognize that photo. I mean, that illustration.
Yes. So the costume I wore, I sewed at work.
Wow.
I wore a again, Dr. Bashir inspired costume. It was the later season Deep Space Nine, we worked on it for months. We did not finish it until the day before I got on the plane.
My goodness. Wow.
And for my staff day photo that year, it was the group photo of all the doctors pointing at my picture. And all the staff members were like, oh my gosh. They were stunned.
That's fantastic. That's really cool. And you say you have a 3D printer in the library?
Yes. We have 3D printer at the main branch. We don't have it at our branch, but we have it.
Is it like one of those new state-of-the-art ones that do etching and engraving and leatherwork?
I don't believe we have that kind of money.
I just keep getting. They keep pushing these commercials at me whenever I go, because I must have once in my life looked up 3D printer online, and so they're constantly saying, "How about a 3D printer? Would you like a 3D printer? Have you changed your mind about a 3D printer?" And the one that costs about $5,000, which is called, I think, Forge, or something like that, is you can put your Apple. I mean, I'm not sure if it's good to advertise it, but it looks pretty neat. So you put your laptop in there, and it will engrave across your laptop, it'll engrave your phone with your own specific design.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it'll cut out all kinds of shapes and things for you to build huge pagodas if you're into pagoda building. Some people are.
That's really cool, yeah.
You never know. And it looks astonishing. I think it's an absolute fortune, though. That's a little bit outside our purview at the moment. We're making the air savers for the masks right now. I think they're making at the main library, but it's very basic. But we're hey, we have it and we've got it. We're proud of that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So who lives with you?
I currently live with my boyfriend and my 2 cats, Piper and Ollie. I post a lot of pictures of them online, but they're probably more famous and more likable than I am.
And does your boyfriend work?
Yes, we both work for the same government entity. He's a computer repairman, and he's actually in the next room.
Fantastic. Has he ever been in this room?
Yeah, he's in the next room working. And he's probably like, what is she doing?
And do you have lots of mask politics? Because apparently the masks have become politicized, and people are wearing them for political reasons and not wearing them for political reasons. Is that happening a lot in your area?
Oh, a lot.
So it doesn't seem as though that common sense is running the show here.
Well, this is Florida. I mean, that's...
People say that all the time. I went to Florida and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't stay very long. But it's, they say that George Clooney's favorite city in the world is Miami. So
Florida is a great place to visit. I went to college at UCF, which is in Orlando. It was the best time ever. St. Augustine, if you're into history like I am, it's beautiful. Phenomenal to go to St. Augustine. We have some beautiful parks if you're into hiking. Just down the road, we got one called Jonathan Dickinson. It is surreal to be there alone. It's like a completely alien landscape. And then we have a couple miles further south is Riverbend Park, which is another world too. It's their joy to visit. But yeah, it's fun to visit, but maybe not want to live here.
Do you have lots of alligators where you are?
Yeah.
How does that work?
That's my issue with it. It's like, you land in Florida and all of a sudden there are prehistoric monsters that can come out of the, water at you.
And the alligators are dangerous too.
That was really good. Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't encourage me.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Well, I think you've got one of the most exciting sounding jobs, because you've literally got to fight to survive. And you will evolve or die away. Not personally.
You are exactly right. You are exactly right.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Now you call yourself Stevie, is that right?
Correct.
Stevie. So I have a question for you. Everything I read now, I have 3 books going at once all the time.
Same.
But right? There's a mood and change, something serious, something popcorn, something in between. Do you lend digital books?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that too, because totally check out your local libraries, because so many of us are doing digital ebooks or digital audiobooks.
That's great.
So many of us are doing that now, and they're so great. There's a platform called Overdrive. It's a great, great program. We have one called Access 360. It's not as great because I have the Kindle Paperwhite and I need that to read, but it doesn't work with it. So I kind of have to work around it, which is unfair, but there you go. But the Mandel Library just south of us, they're doing, they're giving away free cards, you know, so you can access all of what they have, movies.
Oh my God.
I know, it's amazing. I mean, and so, you know, so many people are like, when's the library going to open? And I'm like, yeah, we get that you miss it. I miss holding the books too. And, you know,
Yeah.
I have to wear gloves when I touch the books. I've gotten yelled at over that before.
Yeah.
But you can still do that, and you can still support your library. And if, you know, I hate to get up on my soapbox. I mean, this is what I'm paid to do, outreach.
We love this. Keep going.
Definitely speak with your, you know, whoever's in charge of your area and say, hey, let's get some ebooks here. Let's get some audiobooks. I mean, they've been a blessing to our patrons here, even just the curbside. We have our not so savory people, but we also have 90% of our patrons are just so grateful that we're open.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic to know. I'm definitely going to do that, because ebooks are one thing that every night I go, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I have all these books to read. That would have been, I don't know how I'd get through this period of time without books. So
That's
thanks.
what a lot of people are saying. So a lot of people are saying the same thing. They get it. Absolutely.
Great.
Well, you have been amazing, Stevie. Thank you. Thank you for giving us all this important COVID info, because this is really how we can sort of pass our time and create new interests, which is I've been banging on about every single week. It's like, how do we expand, do something more with ourselves than just sit at home? You do something else. You've just given us a bunch of really good ideas.
Oh, of course. I can help with pretty much anything, you know, reader's advisory, finding your next book. I can help with any of that stuff.
Well, you are our literary administrator from now on. It's your formal title. And people will write
Yay!
and get in touch. So please get in touch with Stevie, guys, if ever you've got questions about this sort of stuff, and she'll point you in the right direction, even if you're unlucky enough to live in Florida. I don't believe Florida is as bad as
But I just want to say one thing super quick. It was such an honor to be able to see you in Las Vegas this past year, because as I mentioned to you, I had a really tough time, but knowing that I would eventually see you, that helped get me through it. And that's why I have my master's today, which is why I'm a librarian.
Well, that's fantastic.
And so my grandmother just passed in March, not related to the virus.
Right.
And I fell into a really deep depression, and I said, you know, what point do I even have to keep going anymore? And my dear friend who was at the convention with me, she said, you have to see Sid again. You have to keep going for that. And as luck would have it, that's when Mel posted these social clubs.
Well, that was a coinky-dinky of the first order.
Yeah, and I just said, I'm like, I now I have to. And I've been trying ever since, and now I finally got in. And I just wanted, you know, to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because you're wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome. It seems a bit weird to say you're very welcome. But there you go. That's a very heartfelt thing to say. Thank you.
And two quick questions. I'm sorry, super quick, and I'll let you go.
No, we're hanging out. We're shooting the breeze.
Who's your favorite Doctor Who, and how do you take your tea?
Nana will know how I take my tea, and that is white with sugar. It's got to be black tea, and it's basically British thing, weird British thing. You put milk in it for some reason, which you're not supposed to do with tea, and you sweeten it, which I think is probably part Arab, which is kind of part me. And my favorite Doctor Who, I met Tom Baker once.
No
he was my mum's best friend, Lala, who was also in Doctor Who, as one of the Doctor's assistants. That they were best friends back in the day. came home with Tom Baker and said, I'm going to marry this man. And I remember him very well because he stood me up against my kitchen door. We had a little apartment in central London, and he put me up against the kitchen door, and he made a mark of how tall I was. And he started a tradition like every kid has at home of marking me. That was my first mark, was Tom's mark. He was very lovely. But my favorite Doctor Who wasn't him. It was John Pertwee, because I'm from that generation. And I just loved John Pertwee as Doctor Who.
That is so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that story. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Stevie.
Thank
Come
you.
back. Come back and join us. Obviously,
I will.
whenever you
will.
can. All right. Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Thank you, Stevie. And all of the book talk. Nana, you mentioned that you're reading like 3 or 4 books right now, and I'm wondering if you could tell us which titles they are.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to tell you, it's
Good.
Big Summer. Big Summer is the book that I'm reading. That's a popcorn book. It really is. And Buddha's Brain and You Are the Placebo. Those are my 3 books right now.
Wow, what an interesting title.
I've heard of that
Yeah.
one, that first one.
It's really interesting. I have 2 other women that we decided by the end of June we'll have it finished. It's a 3-person book club, and we're just reading very specifically interesting books. So it's fun. Yeah.
Are you still cooking up a storm, Nana? Because you are one of the
Oh,
best cooks I have ever come
Oh,
across. And I talk about cooking every day, and we do this. I'm always asking people what they're cooking, what I'm talking about, what I'm cooking. What are you cooking at the moment? Where does your heart take you in terms of cooking?
my mouth takes me to this recipe, and you can find it online. There's a little lunch place here in LA called Milo and Olives, and they make garlic bread, but it's not garlic bread like you think. What it is, it's a piece of dough that's wrapped and tied with string and baked, and you break it open, and inside comes olive oil and these garlic cloves, probably 20 garlic cloves that have been slowly cooked in for half an hour. You cook them in the oil. So you can see Milo and Olive's garlic knots.
Oh my
And
goodness.
you can make it yourself. And
I
that's
didn't eat enough lunch and I'm now starving.
cannot stop eating this. I would add a little more salt, but there's thyme in there too. But I would add, if you make your own pizza dough, like I did from the pizza dough that they suggest, I'd add a little more salt. I found it a little tasteless. But the rest of it, the garlic cloves, they're brown and soft and just like preserved garlic.
Where would you find that recipe?
It's online. Just look up Milo, M-I-L-O, and Olives garlic knots. It was in the LA Times.
Fantastic. Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds
So
really
good.
good. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. So wheel on our next victim.
Okay, our next victim is Sam. Let's see if we can get this unmuted here.
Hi.
There she is.
Sam.
Hello.
Hello. Where are you in the world? It looks dark. You have no
I'm in the UK. I'm in the New Forest.
Absolutely. That's why. That will explain it. Welcome. It's good to see you.
Sorry, I'm a bit nervous.
You don't worry. I'll just do the talking, and then you'll just won't be able to stop talking yourself, because that is easy. Just have to creep into it, and then it'll just all begin. So, in the New Forest,
Yes.
explain where that is vaguely on the kind of map of it's a kind of triangle.
So I'm just outside Southampton.
Oh yeah, down my way. I'm West Sussex.
Yeah.
So in that same southern area.
Yeah, so like Southampton, Salisbury sort of
Yeah.
area.
And how are you all doing with this COVID nonsense?
Well, I'm a nurse.
Oh gosh. How are you doing with this COVID nonsense?
It's fun. I've not really had too much to do with it. I'm a neonatal nurse, so I've only had to train to go into adults if they need me.
I remember the time. This is an aside, but I remember the time when Nana and I's son was born, Django, back in 1996, and I was working at the time. Nana was working right up until the time she had to go into labor. I mean, she didn't, there was no maternity leave or anything like that. But I was working the next morning. And I remember because Django was born at 11:17, close to midnight. I think I slept on a chair because Nana was obviously trying to get any kind of sleep. She was so exhausted that night, having given birth to Django. And I was amazed that we didn't have a name for him. We couldn't come up with a name for weeks. But until Nana found Django and said, that's his name. And it was immediately apparent that was his name. And they gave him a little bit of sugar water when he arrived and handed him to Nana. And I fell asleep in a chair for 3 hours and then went to work on a beach in Los Angeles wearing...
Do you think, Siddig, that they would do that today? Do you think it would make you go to work? I don't think so.
Yeah, my call was 5:45. And I remember because it was the one episode with Vanessa Williams, who was the ex-Miss Universe or something.
That's right.
Fine actor in her own right. But so I was swanning around on a beach without a care in the world, trying to be, attractive. I just,
For 3 hours.
given birth. Django, literally 4 hours before that.
Thanks, Sam. I'm glad you could join us. All right, we are going to go over to Sean Reinhart. Let's see if this...
Hey, that's my name. I'm Sean Reinhart.
That's you.
Hey, Sean Reinhart.
Hi, Sid.
Hi, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, doing well. It's Friday. How are you?
Very good indeed, thank you. I'm always kind of happy when I'm doing these things. We've done, I said like 12 now, and I'm still not bored. And because everything is so fascinating. All the people that we meet are so brilliant, interesting.
Well, that's a lot to live up to. Thank you for that.
Yeah, good luck. So what hospital do you work at?
Oh, I don't work at a hospital. Sorry.
No, where are you in the world?
I am at home in Connecticut.
Oh, wow. Quite local to where we are.
Yeah. You're in Massachusetts?
Mass, yeah. So
Okay.
quite close to the Connecticut border there. It's what I remember about Connecticut is, well, I've been there quite a lot, but it doesn't have enough freeways. So you're always finding getting places through these little tiny roads. You can't just...
I'm a recent transplant. I moved here from Indiana a couple years ago.
Right.
I actually really like the freeway, the highway system here.
Oh, it's good.
Because it's so winding and it goes through all the beautiful scenery.
It does.
Also, the service stations are just really convenient.
Yeah. And which is the main city that you're near?
New Haven.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, that's where we get the train when I get to New York by train, we go through New Haven.
Okay.
They have a fantastic pizza place there called, they probably have lots, but there's a really, really good one. It'll come to me. It's they have it's a massive stove. There's always a line, and they have these pizza paddles that look like boat oars.
Maybe Pepe's?
Yes, Pepe's. Brilliant.
Okay.
Yum, 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 yum.
Yes, I'm a fan of them.
Yeah, it's really cool. So what are you doing? You at college?
So I work at the university clean room. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're out. Or
yeah.
Yeah. Because and are you furloughed or just hello? Nice to meet you. Real pleasure. Who are you?
I'm Sarah. I'm Sean's wife.
It's nice to meet you both. Glad you could both be there.
I figured you might be hearing me laugh in the background.
Yeah, I've been out for a few years now.
Yeah.
I work in a research lab where I keep the plasma etching systems running.
Wow. So a bit like the 3D system I was just talking about, but on a slightly bigger level.
More the opposite. Instead of making things, I destroy them. It's fun.
Oh, that's... Talk us through it.
Okay. So I have a aluminum chamber. It's airtight, so I can bring it down to vacuum. And I flow gases into it, small amounts of argon or chlorine, depending on what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And then I use a generator to deliver large amounts of power into the chamber.
Right.
And it causes the gas to dissociate with itself.
Right.
And now I have chlorine ions are a good example, and those will attack aluminum and vaporize it.
Oh my goodness. So is it like a kind of mini accelerator type deal?
There is some acceleration, yes. It doesn't really work like, not like the particle accelerators.
No, because it's tiny.
Yeah. The same scale, but, or same scale that it's working with. Obviously not as big as the multi-mile tunnel underneath Europe. But
and what is the immediate application for the work you're doing?
Circuits mostly, sensors, nanotechnology.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. That's incredible because that's like, it's not brand new, but it's a burgeoning field.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
Wow. And do you feel that there's, so you said that you've been out for 4 years?
A few years. I graduated in 2012.
Okay, my apologies. I will not ask for your ID again.
No worries.
But I'm really, and now you work in the research field.
Yeah.
And what's happening during this virus? So do you just communicate via Zoom and stuff, or do you just theorize?
So I am doing less of the research myself, more enabling the research groups by giving them process guidance, helping them keep the equipment running.
Yeah.
But we ended up closing the lab and most of the campus services a couple months ago. So I've spent most of this time developing a new website for us because the last one was done in 2007.
Wow, yeah, that's really productive. Although you'd think that the one place you would be safe would be a clean room in a research facility.
Actually, I feel, that is the only reason why I feel okay about going back on Monday.
Yeah, because by definition, you're going to be virus-free in there. It's just getting to and from work is your only risk.
Oh, the big concern is the elevator because we're on the 5th floor. So that's, 5 floors where anything could happen.
It's true, except everybody's not there, right? I mean, they've closed the college down.
Right. So for now, I think it'll be all right.
Yeah.
But we're going to start bringing some research back online on Monday. So We'll see how that goes.
Well, good luck. I mean, I'm sure it'll go really well. And by the way, you're pretty fascinating. You don't have a problem with following the last person, but people have a problem following you. So where is that purposely like Engineering Yellow, Star Trek Engineering Yellow?
No, it is top of the Clean Laundry Yellow.
And do you watch Deep Space Nine? Have you ever watched it?
I have watched it a couple of times, and we're in the middle of Sarah's first one.
Yeah, I watched a bit of it when I was a kid, but I've never seen the series all the way through. And I was a little small to understand all the political stuff going on.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And are you also working at the college, or are you not working?
In theory, I am in the process of getting hired at the college. Great. To do biostatistics work.
You're both pretty dumb then.
Absolutely right.
And how did you two get to find each other?
We originally met in undergrad, and then I graduated and Sean was still in school, and we kind of lost touch for a few years and then reconnected on Facebook. Nothing.
That's fantastic. That's really great. And do you live, I mean, you're about to both leave the house for the first time, I'm assuming.
I think I'm going to be staying home for quite a while, actually.
Is that a relief, or would you rather be out?
It's a bit of both. I don't want to get sick, obviously, so I'd rather be at home for that reason, but, I miss humans.
Yeah.
My husband, who is lovely.
Absolutely. Has it been kind of fun being around each other? Because it's a whole different intensity of togetherness, isn't it, for the last 8 weeks?
It is.
It's been really affirming for me.
Kind of a loaded question.
Again?
It's been really affirming to know that we can spend 2 months in the house together and not get too.
You're breaking up.
You're
You're
breaking.
breaking up there.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Welcome back.
There you are.
Okay, let me try that again.
It's a directional microphone.
Okay, yep. It's been really nice to know that we can spend 2 months stuck in a house together and not be at each other's throats.
Yeah.
Really, no, I picked the best wife.
Aw.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think that's the lovely thing. I mean, one of the lovely things about this forced home imprisonment that a lot of us have had to endure is that we really get to reprioritize what's going on in our lives and readjust from being the workplace-centered mentality to a home place-centered mentality, which I think is probably pretty healthy, because home is pretty terrific if you know how to make it terrific.
Speaking of that, I'm going to break in just for a second so I can
Love
let
you breaking in.
Oh, he wants to say hello to you. Let me see if I can.
Django, how you doing, man? It's good to see you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Well, you're on Zoom with about 100 people.
Hello, everybody.
It's really good to see you. You look beautiful. And Mom tells me that you've been just the paradigm of responsibility during this thing. And thank you.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, we keep hand sanitizer on like every station in our house, in my car, and we do what everybody else is doing, you know. But yeah,
That's great. I miss you.
All right, we are next going to go to Galena, and I think this will be our last chat before we go to the fan art Q&A.
Great. And I think Nana has to go too because she's got another job to do.
Yes.
Yes, I'll for this next one, and then I'll go to work.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Galena's been waiting to chat with you, so let's go. Can you hear us, Galena?
Да, я...
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Oh, well, yes. Well, actually, I was talking with my friend just recently, and she's a friend that I helped to watch Star Trek in the first place. Yes. So she saw all of the shows because of me, and I was like, oh my God, there's Nana here. Nana here. And now we have like screenshot of all of us, and she said it's pretty cool.
That's really cool. That's great. Where are you?
I'm in Russia, in St. Petersburg, and it's white nights actually right now, so it's more or less not dark.
Okay. I mean, it's because it's gonna get very hot there soon. So it's in the nice phase before it gets really hot and wet.
Yes, it's gonna get really hot, and I'm not waiting for it.
No,
Not at all.
I've never been to St. Petersburg. I've been to Moscow, but I've never been. I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to go. Is it the Mariinsky? The ballet house, the opera house, the Mariinsky, is it called?
Yes. I lived near that for some time.
And you have that wonderful conductor who runs it. Who's I don't know if he still runs it, and I can't remember his name either. But he's the head of the Mariinsky. He rebuilt it, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know much about it. Sorry.
That lets me off the hook.
Hey, I'm going to jump in here because I know Galena had messaged me and said that she was very excited to ask Nana a question.
Good. I'm glad we're still here.
Yes. I know you have to leave pretty quick, Nana, so let me just make sure Galena's got...
Right.
Well, actually, I didn't have an exact question, but I just wanted to say how much I love you. You really are. Your Kira is one of my most favorite characters in all Star Trek. I mean, it's in the top 3, And now seeing you is such a delight experience. I'm really happy that I got to talk today when you are here.
Me too, Galina. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I stayed up a minute. I'm so glad. This is such a wonderful thing that Siddig does, to think of all of you all over the world and to think where you are right now and what you're doing. And I'm in LA and it's gloomy June weather starting already. And this connection, it's amazing and wonderful. And I so appreciate it. And sending you love, sending you all love. And
Join us anytime. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
So yeah, Major Kira is one of my favorite characters too.
Yes. And Major Kira and Miro Kira, well, all of them are amazing.
She was she's a revolutionary Star Trek character because she refused to join the Federation. At least that's what I understand. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not really smart about Star Trek. But she was just a really real character and threw into the air this idea that what is a freedom fighter and what is a terrorist. And that was one of the big themes of Deep Space Nine. Obviously, it was before 9/11, but it was, I thought, thematically really fascinating to have that, to keep throwing that question up. Because I remember that, places would be bombed and some Bajorans were considered terrorists. And she had to tread a fine line between her people and Federation. And she was like the arch diplomat.
Yeah, I also like DS9 for that. It explores characters. It put them through difficult situations, so you can see different sides of their characters. They need to go through some dilemmas in their path.
Absolutely. One of the great things, a great learning tool and really interesting. That's all Ira. Were you here when Ira was here?
Yes, I was here.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
I was like for
genius behind it.
Yes, it was interesting to hear from him.
Well, Ira really enjoyed meeting everybody, and he's going to come back at some point because he thought it was great fun. And I think everybody who's been here is going to come back. Andy's going to come back. Nana, I bet you will come back. But when people come back, I think we won't make it a surprise so that people can actually prepare what they'd like to say. I like to surprise everybody when they first arrive because I think it's more fun.
Yeah, maybe next time I will prepare some questions for Eric.
All right, so we are at the point now when we were going to turn this over to Elmie to answer some questions about fan fiction and fan art and her work. So while we're getting that going here, if you have a question for Elmie, would you please use the raise your hand function in Zoom so that I know that you want to talk to her. If you don't have a question for Elmie, could you please make sure that your hand is down, that you remove lower hand, I think is what it says. So Elmie, are you with us?
Yep. Hi.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Elmie.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
Hopefully this time there won't be this weird whistling noise in the background because my webcam was literally from 1997.
I didn't notice.
Mel said that there was like some whistling.
Oh yeah, she knows that stuff. She gets that stuff.
We're gonna go to Kay. I can get my cursor to work here. There we go. Kay.
Hi.
We're on the same side of the world, so.
Hello.
Yes, we're actually quite close to each other.
Hi.
Yes, it's me. Hello. I'm so glad that I could see you.
Is that the shirt? That is the shirt.
It is. Yes, it is
okay,
the
so
shirt.
Tell everybody about the shirt.
So this is the shirt that Elmie illustrated Bashir wearing in the pick me up party.
Yeah.
Pick me up.
It was
party.
It was one of the arts that I showed last week. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I just thought like it was such a cool design. I just had to make it for myself. So. It was pretty exciting. It's also freezing though, so I'm going to put the blanket back on. So hi, I really like to see like your actual face and like talk to you, not over like typing on the internet, which is very exciting. But basically, I wanted to ask you a bit about your headcanon, I guess, that Julian is autistic.
Yes.
Just because, you know, as a fellow autistic disaster, I really kind of like connect with your stories.
I think a lot of people in this community get that, yeah.
Yeah, he seems to like attract the neurodiverse community, which is lovely. But I just was really interested to hear what your reading was, you know, of that character and what sort of traits led you to that headcanon.
You know, I didn't pick up on it at all. I didn't really relate to Julian at all. I didn't really, I had like I was like, found everything irrelevant until I saw a lot of, I just saw posts on Tumblr about, I think one of the scenes, actually, you know what? One of the first scenes I ever saw of DS9 was because my mother watched it before I did. She watched it years before. So she has a little portable DVD player. So she has box sets. So she was watching on the box sets. And there's this one scene, I think so Kira and Julian are on a shuttle and Julian's rambling. And I think, and she's like trying to have a nap, and he just keeps talking. And my mother could not stop laughing, and she like pulled the headphones out, and she's like, "You need to watch this." And we were all crowded around her thing to watch this because it was just our dad, because he's like the autistic one, so he gave me the gene. That's exactly like our dad. But then the more I saw about it on Tumblr, the more I personally related, and he's nothing like my dad, but that particular scene he was. He's so much more like me, because my dad has low empathy, and I have hyper empathy, and Julian has so much empathy. Oh, I love him so much.
So much. That's what we love about him. Are there any other things that like you really relate to with his character as well?
I mean, I would say yes, but I can't. My brain's gone blank. I've been up 16 hours. My brain has absolutely there's marshmallows in my brain right now.
I'm sure you'll think of it later anyway. You'll be like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, all of those things.
Well, I mean, yes. the hyper empathy especially, and the amount that he loves kukulaka. Like, I think I was a lot like that when I was younger as well.
Do you have like a stuffed toy that you still sort of like?
So many, but at the moment there's a koala there. Somewhere there's a llama. And my favorite is. Have you ever heard the Judith Kerr books? Mog. It's a children's book. Children's series. It's
about a cat.
Yeah, a little tabby cat. So yes. I think one of my childhood toys was a Mog toy. I carried her everywhere. It's she's in a suitcase right now. But yeah. You know what I also relate about Julian is him being confused all the time. And not knowing what's going on in a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us can relate to that particular one there as well.
What I want to know is what Sid thinks of that entire interpretation.
Yeah.
I'm back. Yes. About what interpretation exactly? The autistic side that you were talking about, or the hyper empathetic?
Both.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I loved him. You know, I played him like I loved him. and I played even his bad times like I loved him. And I think that it's very difficult for me to distance myself to a point where I can talk analytically like you guys are in an interesting way, because so much of him was kind of me at 26, 27 years old, and he had all my disabilities. We didn't have any diagnoses really, or it was very early diagnoses maybe of something like autism. No one had autism. There was no spectrum. It might have been, but it was such a rare psychological disorder. You know, it would have been. I don't think that now we have found out just how it has proliferated throughout society. That it's very common, and there's a real camaraderie among people like that. But you know what? If I'd known that, I may have been too self-conscious and not played it that way, or because it might have been like not cool being Hollywood to play anything like that.
Can I ask, so like a sort of follow-up question? I've seen a lot of interviews where your opinion seems to differ so with Julian's augmentation. So a lot of people kind of interpret the fact that he was, like, his parents changed his DNA. So that he was autistic and disabled, possibly nonverbal when he was very young, and then changed. He's still autistic, but with a different set of traits.
Yeah.
So your opinions like seems to have varied of what, like, I can understand that you were angry about the fact that they didn't tell you beforehand, so you couldn't act accordingly. But yeah, what am I asking?
I'll tell you what I didn't like. And yes, my opinions vary about a lot of things all the time. I'm a changer of mind. I'd never make a good politician because I would change my mind completely about something every other day. But I felt when that particular thing came, I was proud of Bashir's imperfection. And I felt that the genetic modification was an attempt to perfect him. And so I was pretty upset. I wasn't upset, but I was kind of firing shots across the ravine at the producers, going, "Don't you dare perfect this guy," because there was so much pressure to make him beautiful, more perfect. You know, like, I want a perfect soul from, you know.
I think the way a lot of us interpret that is, on the one hand, yeah, that's a horrible thing for the writers to have written, but on the other hand, it gave so much depth to Julian. And
I think I was more warning them than I was admonishing them. I didn't want him to become Data. And there was a constant creeping pressure towards commercialization of the show because it was doing so in the charts. And, you know, we got popular characters were brought in. Some people's identities were shifted and slightly changed. And I just felt that I just was worried that it was a cynical move to make him genetically enhanced. And I don't think it was in the end. I think they backed off. They didn't make any big changes. He didn't turn into Data. And although they had me try and calculate missile velocity once from a ship deck, which I didn't like doing at all because I felt it was an abuse of. It was I just didn't want perfection. I wanted him to be broken, and trying to find, like Humpty Dumpty, all the pieces of himself and putting them all back together.
Kay, did you have anything else to add? Yeah.
Well, I just thought of something actually, sorry, but an aspect of that augmentation thing that perhaps wouldn't be picked up on by like a not autistic person would be like, you know, that aspect of masking. So like the fact that, you know, as an autistic person, you almost intrinsically learn how to appear like a normal human being and like mask all of the things that kind of like make you different. To sort of like function on a day-to-day basis. That was kind of like one of the things that I liked about
I need to pause you for
Augment
1 second.
Julian.
My cat is scratching at the door to be like, I just need to go.
Oh no!
I will be
Go
back
get her.
in
Get
10
her.
seconds. Hang on.
Yeah, but that can happen anyway. While we're talking about that, there are a lot of reasons why people would mask. I completely concur with you, but you can be like, for example, when I was a kid, I was
Okay, what happened?
I'm blagging away, nattering away like your dad right now. But coming from different cultures can make you mask, because the struggle to assimilate as a child is really hard, especially if you're a different color, so you're very obviously not from the place and you don't speak the language. So I remember working my hardest to learn English as fast as I possibly could so that I could just fade away. I didn't want to be noticed by people as I was, because in the 70s, young black children were like, what the hell is that just walked in the room? And even when I was in my late teens, I was invited to parties to entertain people because no one had a black friend. So it was, it's kind of, and I didn't go, obviously, but so masking can happen on lots of different levels.
Yes. I think that's what I really liked about like the augmentation thing though, because it was like, oh, like that brings that layer of like, oh, he may have been masking at this point, and like I feel like I can relate to that part of it as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I think that's I've made my peace with it now. But I was warning them not to mess around too much with the Bashir character, because I did worry that they were going to make him just perfect. He was going to change, even though it was late into the series. So I just had to stamp my foot and threw my toys out of the pram.
Well, whatever way it turned out, like however much is credit to you, is probably all of it turned out good.
That's magnificent. You met Ira, and those guys were just. They were empathy. They were empathy personified. They listened to. They treated us as like their children, and we were in many cases, because at least hypothetically, they created these characters, and we just filled their boots.
My screen is being a little difficult, so Ariel, I'm going to ask you if you can unmute yourself. My screen does not want to do it. My cursor. Ariel, are you still with us? Maybe?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
There we go.
I didn't realize we're up. Hi.
Hey.
Here we are, just like yakking away. And,
Sorry.
I heard my name. Okay. Well, actually, I forgot. We had our virtual hand raised because I think we were going to chat with Nana. No offense, Sid. We don't have anything new. We love you too. But
very happy with that. Very happy with that.
Nothing's new here. So basically, my week off, I get to go back to the hospital on Monday, and that's same old stuff. But that's about it. I mean, we really have nothing else on this day. We just hope you're okay.
You were just being hopeless.
What's that?
Beaming out, zoning out.
I have been listening in the background. It is an interesting take, and I'm kind of reading some of the comments on Julian just after Bashir being on the autism spectrum. I mean, they are interesting. I never gave it any thought, but
that is your field.
That's part of my field.
Yeah.
And I see kids on the spectrum. I have friends on the spectrum, and I have to think on that.
You're the right person to ask.
Not much else to offer. I'm just in a very Friday mood, if anything. Even if I'm
well, let's find out if anyone has another question for Elmie before everyone turns the carriage turns into a pumpkin.
Yes. Okay. All right. I think we're gonna go to Geneva.
Hello.
There she
is. Hi.
So you and I have talked on AO3 a couple of times on Mossy.
Yeah.
For everybody else, I'm Blessed Are the Fandoms on there, and I have works.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the things that I haven't had the chance to ask you is how you understand what is allowable information and what isn't about who your characters become. Because, like, you know, we all have our own headcanons to a point, and I just wanted to ask you about how far you allow yourself to stray from canon before you're just like, oh, no, that's not who these characters are.
You know, I was thinking about this morning when I couldn't sleep. I don't know, but I was thinking, so I had a question for Sid that I was going to ask later, but I guess I'll kind of talk about it now and then ask him afterwards. So I was thinking, if I wrote a script that was kind of Zoom based of a conversation between Julian and Garrick, how exactly that, how far could I stretch the characterization before they would say no and like say that that's out of character and want to change it? And I don't know what the answer is, but I guess the thing is, like, what I want to do is be able to hear their voices. So I feel like almost if regardless of what they're saying, if what they're saying is said in a way that it would come out of their mouth, then they could say almost anything. But it needs to sound like they'd say it. I think it's like it's a speech pattern thing. Yeah, I think it's like if the speech pattern is right, then you can kind of construct a world around whatever it is they're saying. So it could change the entire situation. Because like once a situation changes, the character is different. Like once a real person is in a different situation, everything that they are changes. People are remade like that. And I guess that is almost the point of fan fiction, is that you change as much as you possibly can to figure out a way to do exactly what you want.
Sure. I find that I tend to rewatch the episodes around the time period I'm writing in a lot to get that rhythm back. So because you write a lot more and a lot faster than I do, and I am so impressed.
You know what? I actually expected that somebody would ask how I write so much. And I would like to explain how I write so much, because it is not just that I write so much. The thing is that I think almost everybody has a life and responsibilities. People have to do laundry and go to work and look after their kids. All I'm able to do is sit in this chair and stare at my screen. Like my mother prepares all of my food for me. I do nothing but sit here. And like, I wasn't able to write anywhere near this much when I was a lot sicker, but my brain is in gear right now, so I can kind of just go from one story to the next. I'm held back only by the fact that my editors have lives.
How dare they?
Did you have I think I interrupted you. You had a question.
That was a totally valid and good interruption. I'm rolling with it. So my other question is, because you are hopping stories so much in terms of just the sheer creativity that you have, one of my question was, do you go back and sort of resituate yourself in the banter and in the physical mannerisms and all that sort of stuff by like watching the show again to be like, oh yeah, that's who they are?
I consistently think that I should, and I almost certainly don't. But it's like once they've become characters in my head, they kind of live there. and I can kind of go back to them. I feel like the longer I go without seeing something of the character's original, then they do tend to stray, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, that's what you like. Yeah, no. Whatever your question was, either yes or no to the answer.
I think the question, the answer was no, you don't go back and watch the episodes.
I mean to, and then I don't.
I completely appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Geneva. We are going to go ahead and wrap it up now. I love that so many people had questions, and I hope that you guys will find a platform maybe where you can get together and do like a full-blown Q&A with Elmie and ask all the questions.
Can I talk to Sid for a second?
In reading anything, any short dialogue that you'd like to discuss, Elmie. See how that goes, because I've obviously got a lot of experience with that. But I'd be very curious to see a sample, and we can maybe go from there.
I have absolutely nothing so far. But
Take your time. Take your time. And I can also put you in touch with. I can things. Let's start that little process gingerly and see how we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Elmie, thank you.
Thank you to everyone in the videos. Thank you everybody in the chat. I love you all.
Yeah, thank you to everyone. Just one last thing, because before everybody leaves, have we missed anyone's birthday this week?
Mine was yesterday.
Happy birthday!
Thank you!
Anybody else? It's all good? You have a sincere happy birthday. Your birthday lasts for a week, by the way. As long as you want it to, actually.
Yes, indeed. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Special thank you to Nana.
Stay safe. Be happy.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.